What's up guys, Dave here with first OP03 deck profile for this format. Much like everybody else, I'm choosing to play Katakuri first. This deck is really cool. It's also kind of weird, but it's really cool. It's like a tempo deck that also controls, but like when you need to hit the gas, you can. It's got options. It's like really versatile, and all the cards play really well on curve, so like that's what makes this deck good. The leader, for those that don't know, Don times 1, when you swing, you can look at the top of your life or the top of your opponent's life, and then move it to the top or the bottom, and he gets 1k. So he swings for 7k a turn. 7k a turn leading up to the turn where you're playing like your 10 drops and stuff like that is really huge, because like I said, it's like a tempo deck that also controls. And when you're applying that much pressure to life, when you start manipulating the life later, it means a lot. So this guy is like absolutely insane. But onto the deck. First off, we have 4 of the Charlotte Pudding. This is your searcher. You look at the top 4 instead of the top 5, which was like weird to get used to when I played it at first. But it's also because you can search for Sanji, and like honestly, more often than not, I'll grab Sanjis when I see them, because like the Sanji 2k counter is like really good. Sometimes you just want to play it as a tempo dude because it swings and draws you a card. Other 1-drop, Strucin, you do play for. 2k counter mostly, but like against aggro matchups, so against Zoro and Law, his effect will come up sometimes. And then like if you're playing against a 1-drop blocker deck, like they're playing choppers or beige and stuff like that, then you can get rid of it with this if you really need to. But yeah, mostly 2k counter. More 2k counter. The other Charlotte Pudding, you like never play this card. The only reason you would play this card is if you really feel like you're going to get behind against aggro decks. Like if they start flooding the board, then you might want to spend 2 Don if you've got literally nothing else to do. But yeah, 2k counter. This is the Sanji I was talking about earlier. He is in every sense like just a +1. His effect is Dawn times 2 when attacking. You get to pick up the top or bottom of your life, put it in your hand, and then put the top of your deck on top of your life stat. So he essentially just draws your life, and then you replace it. Going second, he's a really good card to play, just because like the tempo you get by swinging 5k, drawing a card, and replacing your life, and then swinging 5k again, it either pings them for 2 life, or you like take a life, get a card out of their hand. It just puts the game really in your favor if this guy sticks around. And if they are foolish enough to not kill him and you get to draw again, then most of the time the game's over because you've acquired too much advantage. Onto some 3-drops. Brule, literally just play her because she's a blocker. Like if she didn't have blocker tech, she would be awful. Or if she was like a 3 for 5 and it just like trigger play this card, you might play her, but the only reason you play her is because she's got blocker, and free blocker is insane. Next, the Lick Man himself, Parasparrow. When I first looked at this card, I thought it was like mediocre. Like it's a 3 for 5k, no effect, and like it just searches. But then when you realize that like you are almost guaranteed a card with this when this card dies, and you have to take care of this card. Like if you just let this card keep swinging every turn, then you get in trouble, because that's like 5k every turn coming at your face. So yeah, this card is absolutely insane. Definitely underestimated it at first. Charlotte Smoothie, honestly, I don't play her often. I like never pay 4 to play her. I've never paid 4 to play this card. But I play her off trigger like almost every single time. She is probably the worst card in your deck, but she does still come up. Like if you've already got a Cracker, if you've got her and Cracker established, then you can do Q plays where you like take your life and then turn Cracker's double attack on. Or if you've got the 8-drop Katakuri in your hand and like another 7-drop or something like that, you can put your own 7-drop on top of your life, swing with this card to get the 7-drop back, so you've got another way to play another 7-drop to threaten life. So yeah, she's good, but definitely, or probably the worst card in the deck. Cracker, this card is crazy. His effect is Don 1. He gets double attack and plus 1k if you have less life than your opponent, which happens often, because I don't know if I said this yet, but you really want to go second with this deck because it lets you play your 10-drop on curve. But yeah, if he's the first card off of your life, then you're sitting real nice, because then you play him, you stick 1 Don underneath him, you're at 4, you have 4 Don, so you put 1 underneath him, you're at 3. You swing at your opponent's life for 7k, and they either waste 2 cards so they don't take 2 life, which is great, or you hit them for 2 life, which gets you closer to winning the game. Also, cool thing that like a lot of people forget is that he keeps the 1k if your opponent still has higher life than you. So like if you swing and your opponent has 3 life and you've got 2, then he's a 6k on your opponent's turn, which is actually quite huge. So yeah, absolutely insane card. I'm opting to play 2 of the Rush Katakuri. Just the fact that this deck has access to a card with Rush is cool. Something that I noticed with this deck in testing on the sim, and then like testing with my friends when I got the cards for the deck, is that you've got stuff to do at the start of the game with like playing your Charlotte Puddings, playing Sanjis, and just swinging. And you got a lot of stuff to do at the end of the game with your big drops and stuff like that. But in the middle of the game, you don't really do that much. You don't have anything that like that's like too impactful, except for like clearing the board and stuff like that. This gives you something really good to do in those turns where you have like 5, 6, 7, 8 Don, and you're not trying to play a big drop, or you're not trying to like maintain the board. He gives you something to do, and sometimes like just playing him as a 4 for 6 is good enough, and then getting the information for your opponent's life is just good enough. I've been messing with this card a lot. I think it's good when we get the cards in OP04. He's probably going to be like one of the first things to get cut from the deck, but as of right now, he is. I think he's really good. Every time I played him, I have not regretted it. For Shirahoshi, a lot of lists are playing 3 of this, and I think that is wildly incorrect, because at worst she is 1k counter in your hand, or she's discard fodder for one of your play guys. And like I've never seen anybody say that drawing 3 cards, even at the cost of discarding 2, was a bad thing. Like if I've got the 8 drop in my hand and I've got nothing else to do, I will like play her on turn 5 if I had to go first. Or the turn where I get 5 Don, we'll just play her to draw 3 and then discard 2. And then when we get to 8, or that turn where we've got 9 Don where it's like really weird to do stuff, I'll swing with leader and then play the 8 drop Katakuri to put her on top of my life stack, so I get to draw 3 more cards. Like she's insane. I don't know why you would ever not play for that card. Only 2 of the 7 drop Big Mom. Now this is a card that gives your opponent a choice, which is weird. When you play her, your opponent can either choose to give you a life or take one of their lives and put it in the trash. So this card is like good most of the time. If you see it in the late game, it sucks, because like you probably got your opponent down to 0 and they're just going to elect to take a life, and if they do that, then they don't lose. I'm gonna be honest, I think that in most scenarios, just like going forward, if you've got 3 life or more, you should probably just take the life, because if you give your opponent a life, right, you have to, 1, hit them again to win the game, and 2, you're letting them essentially draw a card, which means a lot the way the game is going forward. So I think if someone plays this on you, you should probably almost always take the life, unless you're in danger of losing. Like if you think you can live, take the life. Next, 2 of the 8 drop Katakuri. He's good. He's good. Like, the times when you play this card, it's ridiculous, but the times when he's dead, he is like just sitting in your hand, and he is like 9 times out of 10 discard fodder. But like in the mirror match and against like Teach Zoro, like sending back Teaches into life is really cool, and sending 7 drop Big Moms and other 7 drops into life is cool. But like, I don't know, he feels a little bit worse, or he feels a little bit better, just a little bit better than the 7 drop Doflamingo. Because your opponent doesn't get it immediately, like you can put it at the bottom of their life stack. So in that regard, he is much better, but I don't know. This card's weird. And then, of course, I'm opting to max out on the 10 drop Big Bomb. I think you kind of have to, because like the impact this card has on the game is ridiculous. Like you can be losing, you could be like have no board, like next to no cards in hand. You're at 2 life, you and your opponent are at 2 life, and then you play this card, and all of a sudden the game is completely changed because you got a 12k body, your opponent's down to 1 life, and you're up to 3 life. Like this card is insane. Of the cards that have been printed in this game, this is one of the ones that probably should not have been. Like the tempo you get with this card is absolutely bonkers. And yeah, for events, I'm playing 2 Ikaku Sovereignty. I think this card is, again, only okay. Like, having to trash 2 cards from your hand kind of sucks, but you get a decent sized hand with this deck. And then the counter effect doesn't come up very often because everybody's staying pretty low to the ground until we get to the late game where everybody's like too tall for this card to matter. So it's weird. I'm playing 2 Buzzcut instead of what everybody else is doing and playing 2 Thunderbolt. I think this card is much better than Thunderbolt. Reason being, I don't have to crit myself a life, and I can always play this card. So, well, I say always. If I'm at 0 life, I can't play Thunderbolt because I can't crit myself a life. If I'm at 0 life and my opponent's at 1 life, I can play Buzzcut Moshi to like kill a blocker and then swing twice for game. And yes, outright, the trigger effect on Thunderbolt is better than Buzzcut Mochi. I will say it. But the trigger effect on Buzzcut Mochi does still come up because it feels really bad to like draw your Brulees and have to play them, or like draw your Parasparrows or draw your Crackers and Smoothies and then have to like pay to play them. But with this card, you don't pay to play them. You just play them if this gets hit off your life. So I think this card is much better than Thunderbolt because you don't have to give up anything to play it. Anyway, that's my first iteration of this deck. There are a lot of different ways to play it. I think going forward, this color is going to be very, very good in OP04. We get 2 new cards that you play 4 copies of each that are really, really good. So I think this deck is still going to be absolutely bonkers going into OP04. But there's some cool stuff there. But yeah, I think this is one of, if not the best deck in OP03 for sure. Peace.